This program is a recording, and the Phoenix FM text line is currently closed. If you wish to comment on this program, email info@phoenixfm.ie, and your comments will be passed to the program makers.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is Sparta! All your days are belong to us. It's a trap 9000!
Leave Benny alone!
Leroy Dragon! The balls are inert.
And now it begins.
Alright everybody, you're listening to Phoenix 92.5 FM and it's the 18th day of August 2018. You're listening to Nerd to Know, our first show after Comic Con. My name is Aaron Connor and I'm joined on the line by my co-host, Mr. Bryn O'Rourke. Bryn, how are you, sir?
I'm still recovering from Comic Con.
Man, I got, you know this because we work together. I called in sick on Monday. I got con sick.
Yeah, I had a con hangover and I'm still experiencing it. You know, you're waking up every day going, I'm still tired.
Yeah.
Tired than the day before, but still tired.
You know, I blame the heat of the place. It was just so many people. But here's the thing, you know, straight off the bat, Olivia and all the gang from Dublin City Comic Con were great to us. You know, just the whole event was fantastic. We weren't impeded in any way as far as covering it. Now, we did cover it an insane amount, Brent. You know,
it was cool. It was very.
It's cool. Yeah, but you're going to be hearing Comic Con stuff until next year, pretty much. There's that much.
So it's like, yeah, but it's like even just like processing mentally, the con was crazy.
Yeah, like it's one of the busy. Like I said to you, you know, when we were there, I'm like, wow, there's way more people here than there were last year. And like we were there Friday night before the press panel, which, you know, you guys heard in the show last week, but also on the Saturday. Now, the Saturday was literally like double the amount of people there were. It was absolutely jam-packed. And I don't mean in a bad way. I mean in a really good way. Like, you wall to wall, like, there was people. And really good vibe, really good atmosphere. The panels on Saturday were incredible. You know, we're going to put them up on our YouTube channel and play them throughout the course of the run of shows here until next year. But yeah, man, like absolutely fantastic. What was the highlight for you personally?
I guess the highlight, I think, out of the panels, because it's hard to kind of think of overall, but out of the panels, I thought the best one was Dean Kane's. Out of the ones I saw, just because really, it was just a really, really good panel. Basically, talked very comfortably and very self-deprecatingly forward. I can't wait for that audio to come out because you just get the impression that he is like a seriously cool dude. And
I actually listened to it there last week. It's very good, very fun. Yeah.
And like I think out of the panels, that's probably my highlight. I think then honestly, just like kind of going around talking to different artists and stuff, and talking to just different people, con goers. I met a bunch of people that I hadn't seen since college, which was awesome. Those are kind of like the main highlights for me, and it's kind of like it's one thing I do love about cons is that you just like you never really know who you're going to bump into.
That's true.
At any point in time, it's class. It's so cool.
Actually, funny that you mentioned it as well. For anyone who doesn't know, and how would you know? When we were there, unless you ran into us, we didn't really spend that much time together because we were kind of running around covering things. So we'd meet up quickly, kind of exchange audio gear, and then run away.
Basically, we'd go like, okay, you finished doing that panel, cool, let's meet up. And that's
And that was it.
for lunch, and like literally.
No, man, we didn't get lunch. We didn't get lunch. At the end of the day, we're like, oh, we didn't eat food.
But we sat down for like an hour just
Yeah.
bait.
Yeah,
So
it was exhausting.
Yeah, it was such a cool day though. Such a cool day. What was your highlight?
I meeting John Romero.
Yeah.
For me, like I know that. Yeah, he's a really good guy. Like, and his whole family were there, and his wife Brenda as well. You know, good people, really, really good people. Like that was ironically the first thing we did. So I was kind of like, I'm happy now. But
When you have that starter that's better than everything else in the menu.
No, I just think like that's what this Comic Con was like. You know, there was no lull period. You know, there was no there was for us about 3:00, but even still, that wasn't a lull period. That was just we were too exhausted to do anything else. But for me, like the fact that you could actually ask questions and that was available was pretty cool. And even the cost of everything all the way through the day as well wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's just like. I think it's because I've gone to a good few of the cons, and I've never been in a situation where I felt like the main attraction guests were. I always felt like they were kind of like difficult to like. There was like such a high level of like not being able to have access to them.
Oh,
much more accessible.
You haven't been to a Doctor Who convention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whovians tend to, like if you're a Whovian and you're listening to this, I know that you can, that you basically show up, and it can be a scary situation if you're a member of the cast. So
yeah. Like I was at the London 50th anniversary con a couple of years ago, which was awesome. I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan, but I do enjoy seasons. Yeah. Shall we say, of the show. But yeah, man, like, you couldn't really meet anyone, like, I did get to meet Peter Davison, which was epic, really was. But even still, like, the main cast were there, but you couldn't really meet them. There wasn't, like, the open platform as such. The panels were good, but they weren't as good as, at Dublin Comic Con. This really felt like, well, I guess what it was supposed to be. It felt like the Irish version of Comic-Con in San Diego.
Yeah, but it really is starting to feel like that's going.
Yeah, it really is.
That's going to be a goal that will be like the only thing that like as much as I loved the panels they had, the only criticism you'd have on the scale of comparing the two of them is that like the star power.
Yeah, like and to be fair, just on that point, Brian, like that's one thing that we did say. It was a bit of hard luck. They did have the star power, and because of filming and stuff, they had to withdraw.
They have you still got to meet Laurie Petty.
Yeah, which was great.
Game, it's not like it's not like they're nobodies, but like it's just not the same thing as when you have the literal entire cast of insert DC or Marvel film here show up. It's just not the same thing.
No, but I think going in the direction that they were trying to go in by bringing in Carl Urban and stuff like that, and even next. Actually, I don't know if you've had a look at who's coming to the anime edition of Comic-Con next year.
I saw it, but I've literally blanked. So do tell me again.
Oh man, the White Ranger himself.
Yeah, it's gonna be David Frank.
Yes, sir. I'm going solely for that reason because it's I have to. It's it's like my entire childhood. So like that's what I mean. Like that's not the biggest star in the world, but a huge star nevertheless. And I think playing that kind of thing where it allows them to make up for you can't fly over the entire cast of Star Wars or whatever because it's easier to go to LA than it is to Dublin. Yeah. But when you had Kevin Conroy over here,
yeah,
that was huge. But
with other cons where like there was Arcade Con had Troy Baker.
Yeah.
I mean, people go, "Who's Troy Baker?" And you go, "Well, have you heard of Last of Us?" It's like, "Oh yeah, because it was one of the biggest games that ever came out of the PlayStation." Yeah, you know who Troy Baker is because he was Joel.
But I think this is what we talked about this with Olivia, when she was on the show, that I've been going to Dublin Comic Con for years, and I've seen it, when I had a different incarnations of it when I was out in Swords, when they moved to the convention center. There was only a couple of things open, but then they'd have, they had like bigger guests and stuff like that, and it's like even still people were going, but they weren't going just for that. They were kind of building with it. So the star power gets people in the door. But one thing that I noticed from talking with people around the place, and even people were messaging me, "Hey, are you at Comic Con?" I'm like, yeah. People I didn't expect to be there were there, and it's more the experience now, right? So people want to go and see the cosplayers. They want to cosplay themselves. Some people just want to go and see what the fuss is. You can buy some nerdy stuff or whatever, and it's now become like an event, and I think that's exactly what it should be. Like, yes, are there other cons of course in Ireland, of course, are there, but they all kind of give you a different experience. Like, you go to a smaller con in Cork or Waterford or Wexford or whatever, and it will be totally different because it's catering for something completely on its own, because it is smaller and I think DCC now has that, where it's like, look, if you can't go to San Diego, because we go to San Diego Comic Con, right? On a whim, particularly if you're in Ireland, you don't have to. You can go to this, and that's what's like. So anyone who hasn't experienced it, do not miss your opportunity to go. Fantastic stuff, really, really good. And Bryn, I think, I speak for you, and we had a great time.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was so much fun. Like, but yeah, I think what you're saying is right though. But like, it is a big part of it is like the experience of like you're seeing it even with like you even see it with like how many families were there, and like that's a really cool part of it too. It's just like seeing seeing dads and like seeing entire like families even just like doing group things to get like doing group cosplay together is so much. It's just so cool to see because like it's hard to find ones that like you can go, oh, as a family we can do this, like that's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like it's weird to see. And we joked about it as well. It's weird to see nerd culture being pop culture.
Yeah,
to such an extent. But it's cool in a sense as well. I think it opens the doors to a lot of different people, a lot of entry. A lot of kids are at it. A lot of teenagers are at it. A lot of young adults are at it. A lot of people in their mid-20s are at it. People in their 30s are at it. And then all the way up to to older fans. So it really was for the first time for me where I was like, wow, this is something that everyone can enjoy. And that's great, because I've, seen the slow build from year to year to year. It really kind of hit critical mass. And that's why when we were standing there at 3:00 on Saturday, like, well, man, we need to sit down because there's so many people here. This is crazy, I don't even think we were expecting that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But like, I'm really looking forward to seeing the kind of show they put out for the next con in the spring.
Yeah, and we'll get the guys on and stuff like that, and obviously be covering it in a similar manner. I'm not gonna say the same manner because that nearly killed the two of us, but in a similar manner as before, guys. So we hope you enjoy the clips and stuff that we have. But one thing, Bryn, before we get into it, we are going to run the waterfront of issues. I need to bring up something. So I've been buying comics again, which is bad because I have a lot of comics, but I'm not just doing it for effect because they're still in the box. So here I have some comics this week that came out. So for anyone who doesn't know, New Comic Day is Wednesday. So go to your local comic store and get some comics on Wednesday. Doomsday Clock is out, and that is a phenomenal series. If you guys haven't read it, it's pretty much Superman discovers the Watchmen, and madness ensues. So that is one that I'm not going to spoil, but the art is great. It picks up. If you're a fan of Watchmen, you'll love it. It's something that it's a must read. But this series is fantastic. But a series I want to talk about that is actually more interesting for me personally is the Power Ranger series, right? And this kind of ties into what we've been talking about. At the Comic Con, I actually picked up the first run of the Boom Publishing comics of the Power Rangers, and they're actually written by Kyle Higgins. For anyone who doesn't know who Kyle Higgins is, he's one of the best writers of Batman and Nightwing. So he wrote pretty much a fantastic Nightwing series. He wrote Gates of Gotham and all that kind of stuff. But after that, when he finished up with DC, he went on to the Power Ranger series. It's the entire story of Tommy Oliver all the way through, told from his perspective. So as the show's finishing, it picks up and kind of fills in those gaps. Now, why is that interesting? Because it sets up the event that's happening now, which is Shattered Grid, which is an evil Tommy, who is pretty much like, I don't know if you played Injustice, Bryn? Yeah, he's pretty much like the ultimate Power Ranger, but evil. And it's fantastic. It's called Shattered Grid, and number 30 came out. So, yeah, guys, if you're a fan of Power Rangers, pick up one of the trades and have a read through it. But that's what I'm reading at the moment, and I 100% recommend it. Like, I actually cannot recommend it enough, because it is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but a new spin on the whole thing that it retcons the silliness of the show in a way that doesn't undermine the show. So you can it still fits perfectly. It's kind of hard to explain, but instead of it just being, we might do a retrospective on Power Rangers at some point. But yeah, that's what I'm reading at the moment, and I'd say for anyone who's a fan, pick up Shattered Grid and pick up the trades. What about you, Bryn? What are you reading?
Well, I'm kind of just going through a couple of books I actually picked up from the con. One of them I'm actually still waiting to read on because I got it from my girlfriend, actually. I'm just trying to remember, trying to grab the actual name of it there. Sorry about this. That's annoying. It's Elsie Harris by Jessica Martin. It just seemed like an interesting book. It's basically about a female character in the 30s trying to start a career in film and television, or in film even. And yeah, it seemed like an interesting book. I'm waiting to actually get a chance to read it because my girlfriend's currently reading it. But the last thing I did read was Carrie and Rufus, number 1, written by Ben Hennessy, and it's really good. It's really good. I'm dying for the next part of it whenever that comes out. But it's the way he described it. We did an interview with him. That kind of sold me on getting it, because he was saying it's like a pleasant mix between Turner and Hooch and Shaun of the Dead, but with a fox instead of a dog, and it's set in Wexford instead of London. So, yeah, it's good. And
not only is it good, but we also had a chance to talk with the artist, and we're going to play that now, Bryn.
This is Bryn again here at NerdToKnow Basis, and I am joined by
Ben Hennessy. Pleasure to meet you.
Great to meet you, Ben. So, what are you doing here at the con today?
At the con today, I'm selling my book, Carrie and Rufus, which is kind of like Turner and Hooch meet Shaun of the Dead.
I love the sound of that. So how long would you say the development process was to get that book written up?
Oh, to get it written up was no time at all, and it only took like a month to draw it. I got another friend of mine, Kieran Lucas, to do the colours, and another friend of mine, Cara Murta, to do the lettering. I did the cover, and it was the only kind of bit of colouring I had to do with the book, which is where I want to be. My heart is with inks all the time. It helps because I'm partially colourblind.
Oh well, yeah, that would be really, really helpful. So, in terms of like your inspiration for this book, would you say that it was the kind of blending of Shaun of the Dead with Turner and Hooch, or what would you say?
It was 100% that. I've been a zombie fan since I can remember, and I really wanted to do something in that realm. You know, I know zombies are everywhere and absolutely oversaturated, but I had to have my own take on it, and I've enjoyed doing it.
Well, I think doing like a buddy comedy is kind of like a nice new thing to kind of add into the mix. You know, I mean, like you see so many things where, like, especially with Walking Dead, it kind of just like put such a downer on the idea of surviving a zombie situation that, like, now that people are kind of starting to satirize it a little bit, it's making it a bit more fun.
And I think it's important to go away from that. Like, you're not going to out Walking Dead the Walking Dead, so you have to come up with your own realm, your own universe, you know. And I've given my best to do that. I've involved older parts of old Wexford, that aren't available today, but you know they're available in the book, and they all seem to play a part in how these guys get around the zombie threat.
Perfect. So, in general, what would you say would be like some advice you give to someone who's just starting out in this industry?
It's going to be the same advice I've probably heard from everyone. Is just keep at it, keep putting in the hours. You've often heard that 10,000 hour thing. I'm not too sure it's actually 10,000 really, but logging in your time is the same. It's the most important part. The more you do, the better you get. It's like putting in reps in the gym, or you know, working on your golf swing. You know, you just got to keep at it until you eventually get to where you want to be.
Yeah, perfect. That makes complete sense. Okay, well, look, we're going to wrap it up today, but thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the con.
Yeah, so we actually had a talk with him there, Brendan. Super nice guy. I actually really enjoyed not only his art in it, but he had some cool Spider-Man sketches as well. It's pretty good. So he's a fantastic artist.
Yeah, I was just checking out as well his website there, and he has done some really, really cool pin-ups that you can check out on his website. It's called Benesy.com, where you can just a blog, and he has his pin-ups and a portfolio for his comics and stuff. You know, very, very talented dude, and hopefully we'll get to talk to him again in the future.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to have a longer than 5-minute interview with him, because his work is cool, and he's a guy to watch out for, I would say.
Alright, Bryn, moving on. Let's have a look at the next clip from Comic Con with the guys from Titan Comics. Here we go.
You know, you're an Irish company. What advice would you give that person, regardless of what discipline they were looking to go in with, be it like as a writer or being an inker or penciler, that sort of thing?
Well, overall, just say to everyone, don't be afraid to fail. Not everything works out right the first time, and sometimes it takes a couple of attempts, but that's for everyone in the industry, regardless of location or what the role is in comic books. It's like trial and error is the best, and sometimes the best learning experience is not getting it right the first time around, but stick with it. And the best day is always outweighs the worst day.
Okay, great. So thanks so much for talking to us today, and that will do it for this interview. Hey, so this is Bryn at Nerd to Know Basis, and I am joined with
Ken Coleman. I'm here as a green screen photographer and cosplay digital artist.
Oh wow! So what exactly? What attracted you to work with a green screen in the space of Comic Con?
Well, it all started because myself and Derek, who is one of the guys from Comic Con, we go way back. I mean, to 1984, babies. Right, junior infants. And what happened was, over the years, we all developed all these kind of being complete nerds, basically. I came to Comic-Con, I was showing off my Photoshop work and my fantasy art work, and one year I went to another convention with a green screen and started taking photos of cosplayers and turning them into the artwork. And then that became the thing. So the thing was, people show up at a convention in their costume, and they love to walk away with a poster that hopefully they'll have on their wall for 20 years. You know, like a souvenir poster.
Yeah, like I saw earlier, I saw you actually taking a shoot for a child who's wearing a Spider-Man costume, and seeing that, I thought there was like a live feed or something coming through, because you could see photos like start to cast onto your screen. I kind of wish we had video to show it, but it just looks super impressive that you're able to give that opportunity so that parents and kids can have those kind of photos.
Yeah, well, it's just a lot of fun, you know, and more parents don't want to do the white t-shirt and blue jeans, traditional, modern family portraiture. They want to do something different. And when I meet a lot of parents here, they want to connect with their kids, and they want to see what their kids are into, and maybe they're just like us, they're they're Star Wars, they're Goonies, they're Back to the Future fans, and their kids are into Star Wars and maybe a different version of the Turtles. But they bring their kids here and they just love getting their photos done, maybe with them, or, you know, maybe the kid is like Thor and he's beating the crap out of his dad who's Loki, you know, that kind of stuff, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's so cool, and to give that opportunity, especially around here, is amazing. In terms of getting into photography for people who are just either interested as a hobby or to actually do it professionally, is there any kind of advice that you would give those people?
Yeah, I wouldn't listen to many press photographers or professionals. I would just go with your gut. What I've learned lately is, okay, I'm using certain equipment today for the job I have, but I'm sitting around with a lovely little Olympus mirrorless camera in my bag that I take every day with me because it's got Wi-Fi. It'll send the photos right to my phone. I teach game design with LIT in Clonmel, and part of that is I actually teach my kids to just use LED lights, a green screen, and their smartphone. The whole thing with photography for a lot of students is, I can't afford that, and it's like you got a camera in your back pocket. It's just how you use it. And one of my favorite little times that actually worked was that a young cousin, he's about maybe 9 or 10, came down to Limerick to me one day, and he had an iPad, and he was playing games on the iPad. I took him out into the garden, and I kind of have a Castle Grayskull in my mother's front garden as a centerpiece. And I showed him how to photograph something like that at an angle. And the next thing, all he did for the whole day was just go with a toy airplane, photographing it against the sky, like taking action figures with the iPad and just running around the garden. I just saw him lying on the lawn trying to photograph a stormtrooper with Castle Grayskull in the background. And that made him use the technology in a more creative way. So those kind of things they're good moments, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I'm afraid that is all the time that we have here today, but thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Oh, thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you at the next year's con.
All right, that's going to do it for our interviews this week here on Nerd to Know. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, more discussion on Nerd to Know basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM.
You're listening to Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
This program is a recording, and the Phoenix FM text line is currently closed. If you wish to comment on this program, email info@phoenixfm.ie, and your comments will be passed to the program makers. This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Okay guys, and we're back here on Nerd to Know basis, Phoenix 92.5 FM. Thank you very much for joining us. Bryn, I've actually been looking forward to getting into that book because I've actually had a chance to watch Shaun of the Dead recently, which I haven't done in ages. Speaking of Shaun of the Dead, I had a chance to watch at World's End there during the week.
Yeah.
I saw it before, but I kind of saw it before, where I watched it, didn't really pay that much attention to it, and then kind of dismissed it. So I watched it again with a more critical eye this time around, and I really know it's not my favorite of the Cornell trilogy at all, but I like it. It has a soul to it that is very different than the other ones, I think.
Yeah, but I think they're all supposed to be quite different from each other, even though they're clearly supposed to have little scenes that overlap with each other, like stuff like having the cornettos. And one of them has a fence scene, has the thing of them jumping over fences,
and the fence falls down. Yeah,
or just does it smoothly. In Hot Fuzz,
yes.
But I mean, Hot Fuzz is just ridiculous.
Hot Fuzz actually, I didn't like Hot Fuzz initially.
Yeah.
And then I got into it, and I'm like, wow, this is great, because I always thought Shaun of the Dead was better. Although I thought Shaun of the Dead was better, but it's actually not. Hot Fuzz, in my opinion, is the pinnacle of that whole trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like, and I was watching it again though, particularly after watching more Edgar Wright movies, or becoming a fan of Edgar Wright properly. At that point, you do kind of see, oh yeah, he wrote this. This is his movie, and it's weird because you kind of ties in what we were talking about last week, well, not last week, but the week before with Ant-Man, where Ant-Man doesn't feel like that because he didn't direct it. He wrote bits and pieces, and it doesn't have those flares, but it does have bits where it's like, oh, that you could have put that in here.
Yeah.
It could be here.
I remember talking with one of my friends before. We were saying, like, what would Ant-Man have been like if Edgar Wright directed? And they said, like, Edgar Wright is a big fan, has such like, one of the things that's like so distinctive about his style for putting together a film is that, like, he likes to do these kind of like really panache kind of edit sweeps where it's like a ton of B-roll just like done in a really like stylistic and clever way that kind of shows off something about a character, like in the way that you'd see like in Hot Fuzz, how it just does like rapid fire jump cuts for Simon Pegg's character traveling from London to the country.
Yeah.
And like, you would have seen that kind of thing done a lot more.
You also probably would have seen a Simon Pegg cameo too.
Yeah, but I think even with the those segments in the first film where the Latino friend is telling it's like kind of they're doing the whole drunk history thing where it's like his voice over their mouth movements. I think that would have been done in a different way. It's something that, like, you look at that and you go, Edgar Wright would have put his stamp on those scenes.
Well, see, I think they were Edgar Wright scenes.
Yeah, they would have been shot differently. They were done differently about them. I don't know if they've done the drunk history voiceover thing that they had him do. Like, it works, and I loved it. I love it. It's not something I'm saying like that's bad. I just think that Edgar Wright probably would have went a different way with it.
Yeah. No, you can totally see it. Like, it's just one thing when I was watching it, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see what he would have done here. I can kind of, it kind of puts a face to it as such.
Yeah. You watch Rick and Morty and you can spot when it's a Dan Harmon joke.
Yeah, exactly the same kind of thing. It's just, it's one of those what ifs, and I think the best we can do now is Scott Pilgrim, which I need to actually watch again because it's been a while. But one thing actually I wanted to talk about there real quick on that point is that you can no longer get Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the video game. Did you ever play the video game?
Nope.
Oh, man.
I've never, like, Scott Pilgrim does nothing for me.
Oh, God. Well, you're missing out. I'm sorry. But no, the video game is it was, or still is. I bought it when it came out, so I still have it. But it's on it's done in the style of an old 8-bit game.
Yeah.
Side scroller, so it's like Streets of Rage fused with Mario, fused with all this kind of stuff. It's one of the best games that, unless you have it, you'll never play. And that's what sucks, because it's a true highlight of the whole console generation, I think, in my opinion. And I want to transition into our next topic based on that, the problems of digital distribution right now. You and I are a big fan of games. We love video games. It's one of those kind of things where, how can you not? But it also raised the problem of when we move stuff to digital, what happens to it? Now, this is a bit of a stretch, I know, but just go with me here. The two biggest emulator ROM sites are now no more than web pages that hold no data, right? As in, everything's there except for a link to the server which would download the game or the ROMs or whatever, right? All gone. Why? This is because apparently, according to the Jim Position, Nintendo has filed lawsuits against all the major ROM sites. Okay, and if you go on,
explain what a ROM is. Just
sorry, sorry. Yeah, I forget, Bryn.
Yeah. So, like, basically, what a ROM is, it's basically the flash memory. It's like the memory of like what a game is. Like the ROM comes from like read-only memory. It's basically how you would run old games like Sonic the Hedgehog from like for your Mega Drive or Super Mario Brothers on your SNES. And basically like that kind of image of that would be taken, and then people could play them digitally on an emulator on their computer, or even stick it onto a Raspberry Pi in modern times and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so legally, it's piracy. I mean,
legally, it's a moral gray area, right?
Well,
as in
gray area. Legally, it's not.
well, here's the thing, because you can actually go onto websites like archive.org and legit pull ROMs for real games that are in the public domain.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, but public domain's a different deal altogether.
I know, but just that's what I mean. That's why it's kind of stuff where the problem becomes is when you start downloading Sega games or N64 games or NES games like that. And this is where it gets interesting, because look, this has been going on for years. All right, like gone all the way back. I remember first starting college. 2007, and people were like, "Oh, check out Sonic." I'm like, "Oh, cool! You can get Sonic on your phone, right?" Now, not a big deal, right? So, 11 years go by. What happens? The Raspberry Pi, all right? So, everyone doesn't know what a Raspberry Pi is. It's a small single board computer. You can put anything on it. I have one as an interface. I have one as a network device. Because you can use it for anything, right? But the most normie use for it is as a gaming device, right? So you can plug it in and then pop all the ROMs on it, and away you go, and you can play whatever you want, right? Now, why is this an issue? Because Nintendo released their NES Classic. They released their SNES Classic.
The NES Mini.
Oh, okay, yeah. The thing that was horribly overpriced and not worth it. Sorry, that was me. But yeah.
Like I think when that was released, just to go on a specific tangent here, when the NES Mini was released, I worked in a GameStop.
Yeah.
And so like one of the big it was more of a severe thing in the States, but it happened here too, where there weren't enough made to meet demand. There was massive known demand for these. To the point where in my GameStop, we had 11 pre-orders and we received 10 machines.
Jeez.
Like that's like inexcusable. You can't especially when you see other game companies at the because again, this is like around Christmas, so there are games releasing for Christmas. Like Dishonored 2 came out a couple weeks after the NES Mini was released, and they had in GameStop they had more copies of the special edition thing where you had the Corvo mask than you had NES Minis.
Yeah, but see, a lot of this was covered again by Jim Sterling. If you guys don't know who that is, check him out. He's awesome.
Even without having to go into his source, like you can just you can look at almost any gaming thing and read up about the NES Mini and how ridiculous it is, especially when you compare it to when you compare what Nintendo did versus some of their competitors, either as software developers or as other games makers, and they're one of the biggest gaming companies out there, and they never seem to be able to make enough product to satisfy the demand of their customers.
No, man, they don't do that. Like there is a lot of I don't want to get conspiratorial here, but there is a lot of rumors that it's artificial.
Yeah, it is artificial because it happened with the NES Mini. It happened with the Nintendo Switch. It happens with Game Boy. It happens with new versions of Game Boys. It happens with certain versions of games as well, man. It's not exactly conspiratorial.
I know. It's like it's not a conspiracy if we really are out to get you. I know. But still, it's we have to kind of be careful. But for anyone who's into this kind of stuff, you can dig and can see. But anyway, why this became an issue is because Nintendo realized, hold on a minute, we could lose money here because someone could just get a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I will give them that. However, I have talked to many people, many people about this, right? And you're met with two responses. One, what's a Raspberry Pi? And two, why are you in my house? No, seriously though, folks. It is one of those kind of things where, like, unless you have the knowledge and commitment to actually do it, you're not really gonna bother.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, like, most people who bought the NES and SNES Mini, they wanted it because it looked cool. You know, it did. It looked like a little small. Yeah, it's convenient as well. You know, it's like, I
literally plug and play.
yeah, there's no messing around with ROMs and all that kind of stuff. It's all there. So the people who would have a Raspberry Pi would have to have a certain entry point in it. And I know some people actually, there were some businesses of people selling them. Now, that's illegal. That's super illegal, particularly when you're selling them with ROMs. And yeah, it's, that's something that should have, never happened. But I'm saddened by it because it's like, for preservation purposes, you can't go and play these games now. They're gone. Like, and even still, like, a cart of Conker's Bad Fur Day for the N64 is, quite expensive. It's like $60. And then again, you got to buy an N64 to play it. It's like, seriously, that's crazy, unless you have one. Like, and it goes back to what we said. We said this about wrestling. We said this about loads of things. The piracy is never going to go away. Ever. Right? How you combat piracy is you make it super easy and super cheap and available.
Yeah.
If something is cheap and available, people are going to use that. Look at Spotify. The music industry was killed pretty much by MP3 downloading. Spotify now is the way to go. And people pay for Spotify.
It's the same thing with Netflix.
And Netflix. Exactly. Netflix is a prime example. Streaming services are prime example. Look at Steam, man. Like the same
guy from I can't remember who was from Valve. Pretty much was the person who's saying, like, people pirate because it's easier.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like, people will pirate something if it's easier to do it than it is to, like, if it's easier to go out and buy a book than it is to pirate it, if it's easier to go out and buy a book than it is to steal it, people will buy it. It's just easier.
Yeah, like, here's the thing. I remember a few years ago, it was nigh impossible to buy Dread on DVD in Ireland.
Yeah.
Impossible. It was impossible. You could not do it.
Yeah.
It was just
but it was always a case of it being sold out too. So it's not like
but like, no, even at the point, like, there were no stores. All the stores were closed. This is when Activision had gone down. This is when HV were gone down. Like, Tower didn't have it, so the only place you could get it was on Amazon or download it. And the fact that was an option is why a lot of people did. Now, I have it on Blu-ray and have the collector's edition and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's ridiculous because Steam is a prime example here. Steam, it's always been, for anyone who doesn't know, Steam is the largest online platform for PC gaming. Now, PC games have always been even more susceptible to piracy because, well, they're on a PC. You can crack them and away you go. So, using the piracy as bad argument, the PC gaming industry should have been destroyed. No, it's never been better. Yeah. It's because you have Steam, which, for $5 you can go in and buy a game that's not going to affect your computer, that you can get a refund on if you don't want it or whatever, and it's there, and it's great, and I think the console market still hasn't caught up with us. Nintendo are like the piecemeal and drip things to the point of it's not accessible because they think scarcity makes the heart grow fonder. Not really. Sometimes I just want to play Zelda or I want to play Mario. Now, to be fair, I'm not a huge Nintendo fan, like, straight up. But it's sad that a lot of the Sega games are gone because there isn't a great Sega platform that can run this kind of stuff. You know, a lot of the exploits are gone as well for modding consoles, which is horrible. PSP, a lot of the tools and freeware that would go on there are gone. So, you know, I think it's sad. It's a sad day for me, someone who actually enjoys preservation, but also the freedom to mod console, to mod materials. So hopefully this gets overturned, but I don't think it will. But look, you know, if there's one thing you've taken away from this, piracy's not going to go away. Something else will pop up. It's like when the Irish government banned Pirate Bay, and now there's proxies where you can go on through India.
It's even like you don't even have to go to those extents. Like, did you when you were a kid in primary school? Did you ever have British Bulldogs? The game?
No.
So there's this game that we had in primary school. It's called British Bulldogs. Basically, the idea would be like you'd have one person on, and then everyone went across, and whoever they tagged would then be on with them. And it would basically go whittle from one person being on to being one person, like having everyone be on bar one person. And that was kind of the goal of the game.
Right.
The thing is that because people would be running at full pelt, and it would be everyone doing it, the chances of someone tripping and falling massively high. And it got banned. So what did we do? We called it a different name.
Yeah.
You know, and on we went, and because they can ban the name of the game, but they can't ban the game itself.
No, look,
ban piracy, but then they'll just call it like schmiracy, and then what are you gonna do?
you know, again, and we've done studies that people who pirate, you know, are highest consumers of media.
Yeah, and
True,
it's also like it never negatively affects media consumption.
No, this is just. As much as I, you know, appreciate capitalism, I don't. I think there's a line here, and it's like, guys, you know, you don't have to drain every penny from an IP which you're not using.
Gotta squeeze every penny.
You know, it's like, seriously, Streets of Rage. I have bought Streets of Rage about 15 times. Sometimes I just want to play it on the PSP, which you cannot buy it for. What are you doing? You're getting free developers to do it for you. And let's not forget modding, right? Modding is a lot of modders put their stuff up there and they become game developers. The best Sonic game is Sonic Mania. Everybody who worked on that were modders, custom ROM makers. It's like cutting your nose off to spite your face to save some money. And that's what I say. Money which you're probably never going to get Nintendo because your store is terrible and no one's going to buy anything. Yeah. So, you know, it's like, what's the point? You've just done nothing.
But it's like in this game, I can't remember, this game called Metal Arms Glitch in the System. And it's an example of, it's a great game and like tragically overlooked in its time. Came out for the PS2 era. And like the voice acting cast is ridiculous. Involves like the likes of Dan Castellaneta, who's Homer from The Simpsons. For the people who don't know, Patrick Warburton, who has done everything from Emperor's New Groove to the likes of playing Joe in Family Guy, to being Brock Sampson in The Venture Brothers, which is easily the best animated show going today. And like, you know, he's involved in a lot of voice acting work, and those are two of the voices in the show, along with like a long laundry list of some of the best comedic voice actors of the last 20 years, easily. Like, and it's like, and the AI is really clever for it, where they never make the same moves twice. You know, hitbox detection and stuff like that is really, really ahead of its time for the era it's in. It looks like the Ratchet and Clank ripoff, but it's so much better. Like I can't even stress how much better it is as a game. But like, yeah, and that's gone because it was published by THQ. Whoever the developers were, I think they went under way before THQ did, but because THQ are gone as well, you can't buy the game. It's
gone.
It's just like it'll never show up on any official digital library in the future. It's gone. It's gone.
Sure, another one as well, and this is one that Jim brings up in his video about this. The Alien vs. Predator game that came out for the arcade system. Now, that's a phenomenal game, but I never would have got to play it because I wasn't even conceived when it came out. And pretty much, I don't think most of our listeners weren't, but also the actual IPs, that's a mess. That's a mess to try and get together. Everyone owns different things, trying to deviate the money. It can't happen. It's just not possible. So the fact that you could just get it, put it up on a MAME emulator and then run it, and again, there's a barrier to this. You need to know actually how to set up a MAME emulator. You know how to do these things. So it is a very, very small niche audience. So, what do you guys think? Let us know on our Twitter, NerdToKnow 92.5. It's a shame, it really is. But look, it is what it is. So I think we're coming to the end of this now, Brian. We kind of went a bit over there, but guys, a lot.
We'll get it in post. It's fine.
We'll get it in post. Yeah, guys, but a lot of what's coming up over the next couple of weeks, we're kind of still playing with the format. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get more interviews in here, and let us know what you want on the show.
If there's anyone you want interviewed, do you want to be interviewed?
Yes. Yeah, and here's the thing as well. It's one thing that we mentioned when you were at Dublin Comic Con. If you're an independent creator and want to come on the show, tweet us and email us, and we'd love to have you on. It's one of the great things about Comic Con that I really like is that I'm talking to the creators, because there's some phenomenal people in Ireland. Great game designers, great artists, great costume makers, great art, writers and authors, everyone. It's such an eclectic mix. So if any of you guys want to come on and talk about your craft or plug your game or anything like that, we'd love to have you on. And the best way to do it is reach us to Twitter or on our Facebook page. Get those likes up, and and we'll take it from there, because I think it is one of those kind of things where if the platform isn't there, you're not going to be able to use it. But Bryn, is there anything you'd like to plug before we let you go?
I am just going to plug our good friends over at Geeks the Industry, the podcast network where they do a whole host of nerdy stuff. If you like wrestling, they have Make Paris Radio, which is a great podcasting name, and I say it every time. Sometimes you can hear me on there with my good friend Polonius Punk KSC. Shit Film Sundays too. Shit harder. And then
best name ever.
Yes. Sorry. And there's also we're thinking of having Shitting with a Vengeance be our season 3 title. Then there's also Geeks the Industry themselves, where they just go through geeky news, and then for good films they have Geeks on Film. And so if you want to speak directly to me, you can get in touch with me through Twitter at CastBrinCast. That's with underscores between the words, so that's cast_Brin_cast, and that'll do it for me this week.
Because Brin is hip.
Word.
I'm
home with the Downies.
Oh, jeez. Guys, if you want to reach me, you can via my Twitter at DaraWV. Of course, our other show is on Tuesdays, which is WVI Desk, or the International Desk. Our website is wvidesk.com. I will be editing that to include a session for Nerd to Know. And that's where you'll be able to reach all the shows. But for now, the best way is go over to our Facebook page, go over to Twitter. All the links are there. They're for free, so go for it. And until next week, this has been Nerd to Know on Phoenix 92.5 FM.
Bye.